I'd done it. Saved the beautiful, broken princess, and the system was finally letting me go home. A massive weight lifted off my shoulders. I'm heading out tomorrow. I told her, try to keep it casual. Try to be a good queen, okay? She just gave a small, quiet nod and ordered her guards to escort me back to my rooms. The next day, I woke up with a groan in my cramped, sun-baked studio apartment. Just as the relief washed over me, the system's alarm blared in my head. Warning! Warning! Serafina's corruption level has exceeded 200%. Secondary redemption mission activated. I was ripped back through time and space, landing in the same world only to find 10 years had passed in a blink. The delicate, damaged princess I'd left behind was now a cold, tyrannical empress. And the first thing I saw was her personally executing a man who was trying to win her favor. Her long, slender fingers caressed the hilt of her sword, her voice as cold as ice. Who gave you permission to wear his face to tempt me? I stood there in the middle of the grand throne room, dressed in a wrinkled tank top and a pair of baggy gym shorts, my brain feeling like scrambled eggs. Didn't I just get back? Why the hell was I here again? My new gaming console. I hadn't even finished setting it up. By the time I get back for good, it'll be a retro antique. Host can rest assured. The temporal flow between worlds is asynchronous. Your console is unharmed. Hearing that familiar, robotic voice in my head, the last of my composure snapped. I thought maybe I'd just been in this place for so long that I was dreaming about being back home. But no, it was real. I was really back. I let out a long sigh and looked down at my stained tank top. I needed to find a palace servant and get some decent clothes. Dressed like this, they'd probably toss me in the dungeons for being a vagrant. At least I'd landed in a quiet corner of the Phoenix Wing. The servants here knew me. I glanced around, and a sense of unease crept in. Where was everybody? The hallways were completely empty. Not a soul in sight. Since I couldn't find anyone, my next best bet was to sneak back to my old quarters and find some of my clothes. I cautiously poked my head out of the antechamber, scanning the long, marble corridor. Not even a single guard on patrol. This was my chance. 3, 2, 1. I took a deep breath, about to make a run for it, when a blood-curdling scream echoed from behind me. Your Majesty, have mercy. This servant knows his error. He'll never dare again. Please, Your Majesty, spare me. Her Majesty. The old emperor had a stroke 3 years before I left. Serafina had been ruling as regent while he recuperated at the Sunstone Abbey. Where would he get the energy to come all the way back here? The system said the time flow was different. Could it be? Had Serafina officially taken the throne? A flicker of hope sparked in me. If I could just find her, I'd get my answers. I followed the sound, creeping toward the central courtyard. This must be where all the Phoenix Wing's servants had gone. The sight that greeted me was staggering. The entire courtyard was filled with servants, all kneeling on the hard stone, trembling like leaves in a storm. At the front, a burly man who looked like the head chamberlain stepped forward. His voice was a low growl, each word sharp as a shard of glass. Every single one of you will crush any improper thoughts you might have. Do you see the one who was just dragged away? That is the price for disobedience. He was in the middle of his tirade when he must have felt my gaze on him. His head snapped up. Who are you? Before I could answer, 2 of the kneeling servants near the doorway lunged at me, pinning my arms behind my back. I picked up a few fighting skills during my years here, but deep in the heart of the imperial palace, surrounded by guards, my only option was to play along. The head chamberlain strode over to me. As he got a clear look at my face, his eyes widened in shock. The resemblance. It's uncanny. Then a cold smirk spread across his lips as he scanned my outfit. And dressed like that, he didn't finish, just waved a hand at the men holding me. Take this one to Her Majesty as well. I blinked. Hey, wait, the Empress is Serafina, right? You can't just throw random people at her. Aren't you worried I might be an assassin? These guys were terrible at their jobs. 1-star review. They completely ignored me, dragging me away. I was shoved into a massive chamber, and the heavy doors slammed shut behind me with a deafening boom before I could even get my balance. I rubbed my sore palms, my ears straining. The low, choked sobs of a man drifted from an inner room. Tiptoeing inside, I complained to the system in my head. I made all that noise, and the people in here didn't even come to check. That's weird. Host, your actions were reckless. You should have her treated. What's there to be afraid of? I muttered back. A seasoned pro. I got out of way worse situations than this last time. I still remember Serafina crying her eyes out. If only I had my phone, I would have recorded it for blackmail. The The system went silent. I crept into the inner sanctum, and the scene before me made me forget the system even existed. My eyes traced the river of fresh blood pooling on the marble floor, up to the glinting steel of a long sword, and finally rested on the delicate hand that held it. A young man, barely dressed, lay dying in the spreading pool of red. On the massive, dragon-carved bed, a woman was methodically wiping the blood from her blade with a silk handkerchief. Her eyes were downcast, her expression unreadable. Suddenly, a low, chilling laugh echoed through the chamber, vibrating straight to my bones. "You're not worthy of wearing his face." She tossed the sword aside, and her gaze, sharp as a razor, shot toward the pillar where I was hiding. "They sent another one? Let's see. How much does this one look like him?" System. System. What the hell is going on? I screamed in my mind, pressing myself against the cold stone. Host, the situation is self-evident. Seraphina's corruption is complete. No kidding, she's corrupted. You didn't tell me she turned into a serial killer. Quick, how long has it been exactly? She looks older. Crap, it's been so long. Does she even remember me? What I do now, system? The system seemed to be at a loss. It just offered a final, unhelpful, "Host, you're on your own," and then went silent. Slow, deliberate footsteps echoed behind me. I gripped the hem of my shorts, my knuckles white, and took a deep breath. Calm down, Ethan. You did it once, you can do it again. You've even got the past experience to go on. So what if the sweet, sunny girl turned into a dark, tyrannical monster? Don't panic. Don't panic. Panic. Who the hell was I kidding? This wasn't the Seraphina I knew. I might not be able to die for good in this world, but pain was definitely real. I was just about to turn and bolt when a hand clamped around my throat. A low, seductive voice whispered right next to my ear, warm breath ghosting over my skin. "Caught you." The hand tightened slowly, and the air in my lungs vanished. She circled around to face me, pressing the blood-soaked tip of her sword against my chin. Warm, sticky liquid trickled down my throat. The shadow of death closed in around me. Pure, animal instinct took over, and I started to struggle. I grabbed her wrist, trying to pry her fingers away, and forced out a single, strangled word. "Salah." The moment the sound left my lips, a look of pure disbelief flashed in her dark eyes. Her grip loosened. The sword clattered to the floor, rolling a few feet away. Seraphina dropped to her knees in front of me. She cupped my face in her hands, her fingertips pressing desperately against my brow as if checking if I was real. Her fingers, her voice, everything about her was trembling. A single name, whispered like a prayer, fell from her lips. "Ethan, is it really you? Are you back?" I had spent 10 years in this world. When I first met Seraphina, she was the forgotten, unloved princess of the Phoenix Wing. She was only 14 back then, a shy, awkward girl. People who get sent to other worlds always get some kind of special power. Mine was that time didn't touch me. An eternal life, an unchanging face. I was forever stuck at the 20-year-old version of myself that first arrived here. Even as Seraphina grew up, the way she said my name never changed. Not even now. I clutched my throat, coughing and gasping for air. She gently patted my back, and I instinctively flinched away. "Don't touch me." The image of the dead boy in the pool of blood flashed in my mind. The terror of that moment seized my heart all over again. This wasn't Seraphina. It couldn't be. How could she have become this? Just yesterday, my yesterday, I had helped her put down a rebellion. The system told me the mission was a perfect success and I could finally go home. I went to say goodbye, and she looked down like a sad little kitten and promised me she would be a wise and just empress. Did this look like a wise and just empress to you? "Ethan." Seraphina tilted her head, leaning closer. Then a soft, strange laugh escaped her lips. "How could you possibly be back?" She lowered her head, her voice a seductive murmur. "Am I dreaming? Ethan, did you come to see me because you knew how much I missed you?" She placed a gentle kiss on my forehead and wrapped her arms around me, holding me so tightly it felt like she was trying to merge our bodies into one. She lifted me as if I weighed nothing, carried me toward the enormous bed, and whispered in my ear, "Ethan, I've missed you so much." "Seraphina." I grabbed her sleeve. "You need to calm down." She cupped my chin and leaned in. I turned my head, and her lips brushed against the corner of my mouth. Over her shoulder, I could see the face on the floor, the face that looked so much like mine, its eyes wide open, staring at nothing. Even in my dreams, "Ethan won't listen to me." Seraphina's tone turned dangerous, and her long fingers slid to the collar of my tank top. A disobedient Ethan. How should I punish you? I trembled, tried to push her away, but my strength was nothing against a woman trained in combat for years. She seized my wrists, twisted them behind my back, and brutally tied them with the silk belt from her robe. It was pretty obvious what she was planning to do next. Serafina. She lifted my shirt. Dressing like this, Ethan. Weren't you just trying to seduce me? I shook my head frantically. No, it's just pajamas. So handsome, Ethan. She ignored me completely, her touch almost reverent as she caressed my cheek. With one sharp tug, she ripped my tank top open, her eyes hazy with obsession. Ethan, you always treated me like a little girl, but I've been a woman for a long time. I cursed myself internally. You get what you pay for. That cheap shirt from Amazon never stood a chance. Serafina, calm down. I have to go back. That seemed to be the wrong thing to say. A dangerous smile played on her lips as she reached up and tore down the silk canopy around the bed, advancing on me. Always so disobedient, Ethan. Always trying to run away from me. She dropped the shredded fabric, pinned me to the bed with one hand on my neck, and the heat of her breath on my face sent a shiver down my spine. I stared wide-eyed at the canopy above, my body shaking uncontrollably. I just got home. The system said you had a problem and sent me back without even asking me. And now you're trying to force me, too. I bit my lip, trying to hold back the fear, but my voice still trembled. The system never warned me you'd become this. This monster. It told me to save you, but who's going to save me? I just graduated high school. The most rebellious thing I've ever done was trick my dad into letting me buy $20 skin for a video game. You can't even get a decent pizza delivered for $20. Why was this happening to me? Damn it, the more I thought about it, the more pathetic and wronged I felt. As Serafina started untying her own robes, hot tears started streaming down my face, and she was still going through with it. Fighting back the nausea, I spat out the only word I could think of. Psycho. Her outer robe fell over my body. She paused, then untied the silk binding my wrists. Her head was bowed, hiding her expression. I'm sorry. She gently straightened my ruined shirt, her fingertips brushing away the tear tracks from my cheeks. I instinctively recoiled. A flicker of pain crossed her face, but after a moment's hesitation, she pulled out a handkerchief and carefully dabbed my eyes. Ethan, I thought I was dreaming. I huddled in the corner of the massive bed, watching her warily as she knelt at the foot of it. She wasn't like this yesterday. Except for when we first met, she'd always been the picture of a graceful, well-mannered, noble lady. How had she turned into this? I couldn't look at the body on the floor, and I couldn't look at the woman on the bed, so I just wrapped the heavy blanket around myself like a shield. Serafina was the first to regain her composure. She called for the guards outside. The same head chamberlain who'd thrown me in here directed his men to deal with the corpse. He was completely unfazed by the dead body, but seeing me alive seemed to terrify him. I hesitated, then reached out and tugged on Serafina's sleeve. She was only wearing her thin inner tunic now, and the slight pull opened her collar, revealing the pale skin of her collarbone. That man, he's dead. Serafina listened in silence. I remember I saved up some money before I left. Could you give it to his family? The stash I had before I left, I gave some to the servants as a farewell gift, and the rest I left with her. I figured since she lived in the palace, it was easiest just to tell her it was all hers. Her family was the imperial dynasty. Surely she wouldn't have needed my meager savings, right? Serafina's hand closed over mine. I tried to pull back, but she pressed her cheek against my knuckles. The servants worked quickly, and soon there was no trace of blood on the floor, but the faint, coppery smell still hung in the air. He doesn't need compensation. He was a spy from the southern duchies. Her palm was warm against the back of my hand, her voice so soft it was like she was afraid of startling me. You came back at the perfect time. The winter solstice gala is in 2 days. They sent many rare treasures, but they also snuck in quite a few assassins. Something about that felt wrong. Then what about me? The servants took one look at me and threw me in here with her. Serafina's gaze drifted to the imperial crest on the robe she'd thrown over me, and then she suddenly snatched the blanket away. Ethan, the clothes you were wearing. I was just in my pajamas. Where would I hide a weapon? As if reading my mind, she said quietly, over the years, many men who looked like you were sent to the palace. At first, I was kind to them. Then one tried to assassinate me in my sleep. So that was it. Serafina quickly changed the subject. Are you hungry, Ethan? Let's get something to eat. She hadn't needed to mention it, but now that she did, I realized I was starving. I rubbed my stomach, my mind drifting to the video game I hadn't gotten to finish. Serafina was a good half-foot shorter than me. There were no men's clothes here, so I had to squeeze into one of her outfits. It was tight and incredibly awkward. I took a few stiff steps and decided it was impossible. A servant quickly brought a more suitable set of clothes. I made Serafina wait outside while I changed into a simple tunic and pants. When I opened the door, she was just turning around, and our eyes met. For a moment, it was like the 10 years between us vanished. The breeze stirred the hem of her robes as she held out her hand to me, a soft smile on her face. I felt a strange sense of déjà vu, seeing the girl she used to be. But the years had tempered her, made her more reserved. There was a depth to her now that I couldn't quite read. But everyone has their secrets. That's normal. I placed my hand in hers, and she squeezed it tightly. I tilted my head. So, Serafina, what's on the menu today? I'm not sure. Then I get to pick. I'm hoping for a Nashville hot chicken sandwich. You have no idea. I was about to order one back home, but then I saw the delivery fees. I couldn't even afford it. She held my hand, her tone casual. Did you have a good time back home? I couldn't help but complain. I thought after being gone for 10 years, I'd be a missing person. But I woke up, and my dad was just knocking on my door, asking why I was sleeping past noon. I just hugged him and burst into tears. He got so worried I was losing my mind from gaming too much, he almost took me to see a shrink. He had no idea I'd been in another world. I sighed, a distant look in my eyes. And now I'm back here again. Who knows when I'll get to go home for good? Serafina's steps faltered for a second before she resumed her steady pace. She brushed a stray piece of hair from my face. You'll go back eventually. I dodged her touch. Don't mess with my hair. It'll make it fall out. She leaned in close. Then how about you mess with mine? Never one to pass up a chance for some harmless payback. I immediately ruffled her perfectly styled hair until it was a complete mess. She suddenly stepped back, and I lost my balance, stumbling right into her. She caught me easily. Careful, Ethan. It's your fault for moving. I grumbled. She just smiled. Yes, it's all my fault. Damn it. Why did she have to apologize so quickly? Now I had all this fake anger with nowhere to go. Just as I was trying to decide whether to stay mad or let it go, a young attendant came running toward us. He dropped to his knees the moment he saw Serafina. Your Majesty, the Crown Prince has a high fever. The Grand Master requests your presence. Serafina still had her arms around me. The attendant, reporting the news, risked a glance up, and his eyes met mine. The color drained from his face, and he immediately prostrated himself on the ground. My brain was still catching up, but I instinctively nudged Serafina. He said, you should go. The words were barely out of my mouth before their meaning hit me. The Crown Prince has a fever. The Grand Master wants her to go. She's the Empress. For her, it's been 10 years. It's perfectly normal for her to have a kid by now. She's 29. That's not even that young in my world, let alone in a place where people marry and start families early. Serafina told the attendant to go on ahead, then turned to me. Ethan, would you rather eat first, or come with me? I tilted my head. He asked for you. I want you to come with me. I hesitated. Was it weird for me to go with her to see her husband and child? But she was giving me a look that said if I didn't go, she wouldn't either. Medical care in this era was primitive. What if it was serious? All right, let's go see him. She took my hand. Good. We'll go together. I tried to pull away, but her grip only tightened. I poked her arm pitifully. Ow. She smiled. Don't move, and I'll be gentle. I shut my mouth. The old Serafina would have let go immediately. I guess becoming Empress means you don't tolerate being defied. Makes sense. I get annoyed when people disagree with me when I'm playing strategy games online. She's a real-life ruler surrounded by people who do nothing but agree with her. After a moment of silence, my curiosity got the better of me. How old is the kid? She thought for a moment. I'm not sure. You don't know how old your own son is? What kind of mother was she? Serafina answered calmly. He's not mine by birth. He was adopted from the extended family. He's the firstborn son of my aunt, the Duchess of Stillwater, I believe. I remembered her. Serafina's great-aunt was a kind, gentle woman who only came to the capital for major holidays. Why did you adopt? If the Crown Prince wasn't her biological child, wasn't she just handing her power over to someone else? It was her choice, obviously, but she did have an empire to pass on. There I go again, worrying about other people's problems. Serafina replied with a perfectly straight face. I have no children of my own. Oh, so that was it. She couldn't have children. An involuntary wave of sympathy washed over me, and she noticed it immediately. She stopped walking, trapping me against a stone wall. I only just realized that the servants who had been trailing us had disappeared. She brushed a lock of hair from my forehead, her gaze intense. My heart started pounding out of control. I tried to sound normal. Serafina, what are you doing? How could I forget? She had these moments where she got weird. Serafina's voice was a low murmur. Aren't you curious whose man that guard was, Ethan? He's your guard, isn't he? What's there to ask? I puffed out my cheeks and ignored her. She cut my face. He is the Grandmaster's personal attendant. You remember the Grandmaster, don't you? You always respected him. The Crown Prince was raised by his hand. The Grandmaster was one of the old Emperor's most trusted advisors. As court politics shifted and old factions faded, he had withdrawn from the fray to pursue a more spiritual life. He had always been kind to both me and Serafina. And then I understood why the walk was taking so long. We weren't heading back to the Phoenix Wing. We were going to the Grandmaster's Hall. I blinked. Oh, I see. Not that I really cared for the explanation. Is there anything else you want to ask? Serafina's voice was soft. I couldn't tell if it was her natural tone or if she was putting it on. It was a different kind of softness than before. She sounded like she was coaxing a child, trying to guide me into asking something specific. I frowned, thinking, what do I want to ask her? How have you been for the past 10 years? She seemed fine. She was the Empress. Did you miss me? I hadn't really thought about her back in my world, so I had no right to expect her to opine for me. How do I stop you from being so obsessive? That was a conversational landmine. One wrong step and I could trigger another episode. And then what would I do? Serafina gently smoothed the crease between my eyebrows with her thumb. Don't frown. I don't like it. I ignored her, keeping my brow furrowed. She repeated herself, her voice softer. Be good. I grabbed her hand and just stared at her. Her eyes darkened, and she leaned closer. Before I could react, she bit my neck. Al, why did you bite me? That actually hurt. Ethan, she whispered, her other hand tracing the corner of my eye. Why don't you bite me back? I was stunned. What? Are you a masochist or something? Asking me to bite you. I'd spent so much time with her that she'd picked up a lot of my modern slang. She didn't always know the exact definition, but she usually got the gist. Yes. My voice was a low, exasperated whisper. You actually said yes. I think the prince isn't the only one with a fever. You're completely delirious. Serafina's slender, strong arms wrapped around my waist, and she buried her face in my chest. Then you'll have to be my cure, Ethan. She leaned in, and the exotic scent of her moonflower perfume filled my senses. The woman herself was far more complex and harder to read than any fragrance. You once told me. Her fingertips traced my Adam's apple, her voice low and husky. That a woman's virtue is her most precious treasure. Do you want mine, Ethan? The words flew out of my mouth before I could stop them. What are you talking about? Her gaze turned sharp as flint. Are you rejecting me? Realizing her tone was too harsh, she softened it. Ethan, I've never been married. I've been waiting for you to come back. The Crown Prince took his medicine, started sweating, and his fever began to break. I, on the other hand, was starting to think I was the one who was seriously ill. I held out my wrist dramatically. The royal physician took my pulse, stroking his beard for a long time before declaring, "The young gentleman is in perfect health." I glared at him. Are you sure you didn't misdiagnose me? His eyes darted between me and Serafina, but he stood his ground. The young gentleman is indeed perfectly fine. The physician beat a hasty retreat. Serafina watched me with a smile playing on her lips. So Ethan is fine? His skills are terrible. I'm clearly unwell. I slumped onto the table theatrically. I'm dizzy. I feel weak. I need a rest. You should leave now. My plan to fake an illness and escape was foiled by the fact that we were standing right outside the Grandmaster's hall, where the prince was sick and the physician was on call. My little act was painfully transparent. I squeezed my eyes shut, pretending to be asleep. She chuckled softly. I'll rest with you. Oh, crap. I shot up from the table. I'm all better. I'm going to go pay my respects to the Grandmaster. Weren't you dizzy and weak? A short nap was all I needed. Quality over quantity, right? Serafina smiled. Ethan, after all these years, you're still such a child. I am young, I shot back. I just turned 18 a few months ago, you know. Maybe it was because of this world where I was forever frozen in time. My mind was still that of a high school graduate from a safe, peaceful world just about to start college. She rested her chin on her hand, gazing at me. Then when will our Ethan finally grow up? Clear the hair. Don't use that tone with me. My parents have a strict, no dating before college rule. She looked thoughtful, lost in some private world. The Grand Master was watching over the prince, who was much younger than I'd expected. I pictured a boy of 7 or 8, but he looked no older than 5. When we arrived, the Grand Master handed the child off to a nursemaid. The past 10 years had carved deep lines into his face, and his temples were dusted with silver. He looked more and more like the hazy memory I had of my own grandfather. The Grand Master pulled me aside, catching me up on everything that had happened, while a man in black robes quietly summoned Seraphina away on some urgent matter. I waved her off. Go on, you're busy. She stroked my cheek. I'll be back soon. I nodded, watching her leave. After she was gone, while still chatting with the Grand Master, I silently pinged the system. System, what's Seraphina's current corruption level? 100%. My heart sank. It's still that high? Host need not worry. It was originally at 200%. Your return has already reduced it by half. So how do I get it to 0 so I can go home? The system paused for a moment. You must eliminate her desire to imprison you. Otherwise, the moment you leave, she will descend into madness once more. Speaking of which, why did you have to bring me back? Aside from being a little possessive with me, she seems to be doing a pretty good job. In the 10 years after you left, she exhausted every resource searching for you. After a decade of failure, she was swayed by a voodoo priest and began preparations for a mass blood sacrifice at the Starfall Spire during the Winter Solstice Gala. A rite of 10,000 souls. Oh, so she was just planning a little blood sacrifice. Wait, what the hell? A chill shot through me. My hands went numb, and the teacup slipped from my fingers, shattering on the stone floor. Has it? Has it already happened? Was that why I was brought back? My mind flashed with images from fantasy epics, great altars and pyres, but they were twisted with piles of bleached white bones. The world went dark for a second. So many innocent lives. It has not yet occurred. Your return will prevent the rite. Host, you must change your mind. What's wrong? The Grand Master asked. Thank God the system had given me a warning. I took a deep, shaky breath and shook my head. I just feel a little unwell. I think I'll go rest for a bit. An attendant guided me to a side chamber. I stood alone at the door, letting the cool wind wash over me, but my thoughts were a tangled mess. Would Seraphina really do something like that? The system had never been wrong before. And even if it could be, what if it was true? If I left, what would happen to all the innocent people in this world? A rite of 10,000 souls. An act of such monstrous cruelty would surely plunge the Empire into chaos. Rebellion would be inevitable. I'd rather be a nobody in peacetime than a king in a war. Once the Empire fell apart, the death toll would be far higher than 10,000. After the Great Schism, the population of the continent dropped by 30 million. Even if this dynasty wasn't that bad, war would still cause unimaginable suffering. Those lost lives weren't just a cold statistic. Years ago, when the Empire's hold was weaker, border rebellions were constant. I'd gone with Seraphina to inspect the frontier. The rebels had a scorched earth policy. We saw entire towns put to the sword. The survivors were skeletal with unnaturally bloated stomachs, the result of eating clay just to fill their bellies while they waited to die. As a guy who grew up in a world of plenty, a geek who'd spent most of his time here in the palace where even the lowest servant had enough to eat, I'd never seen such horror. I came back with a raging fever, plagued by nightmares for weeks. Seraphina, who was only 16 at the time, sat by my bed and took care of me the entire night. When I woke up, she was holding my hand, and she promised me, Ethan, I swear, one day I'll make sure our people have full bellies and warm clothes. She had seen those horrors with her own eyes. How did she do this now? Seraphina returned to find me, standing in the courtyard, and strode toward me. A dull ache spread through my chest, a sadness I couldn't name, and I fought to keep my emotions in check. She broke her promise. She promised she would be good. Who upset you? She reached out to touch my face. I leaned my head against her shoulder, fighting back the lump in my throat. You did. You're the one who made me upset. Then I was wrong. Don't be angry, Ethan. I won't make you unhappy again. I wrapped my arms around her, holding on tight. You're lying. I'm not lying. Really? She whispered. If I am, may lightning strike me down. I snorted. You deserve to be struck down by lightning. She took my hand, her voice low. Can you tell me what happened? I looked her straight in the eye, my voice heavy. The Starfall Spire. What were you planning to use it for? Her pupils contracted violently, but her face remained a mask of calm. The Starfall Spire? How did you know about that, Ethan? The system told me. The system. Serafina repeated the words softly. Ethan, do you trust me, or do you trust it? I held her gaze, my voice unwavering. I trust it. You trust it. Serafina laughed, but there was no warmth in it. Her gentle expression froze over, her voice so calm it was impossible to read. But my instinct screamed that she was more dangerous now than ever before. You haven't even tried to deny it. You're already defensive. That just proves I should trust the system. Her fingers tightened on my shoulder. She said nothing. I could feel my heart hammering, blood rushing to my head. If I didn't do something fast, this was going to get very, very bad. Taking a deep breath, I grabbed the collar of her robe and pressed my lips to hers. Serafina, don't look at me like that. It scares me. I kissed you, see? So don't be angry anymore, okay? Her arm instinctively wrapped around my waist. A flash of surprise crossed her face. She clearly hadn't expected me to be so bold. The next second, she pushed me back against a stone table, her kiss a demanding, desperate storm. I automatically wrapped my arms around her waist, pulling her closer until there was no space left between us. We were breathless. We were one. When her hand started to wander, I bit out, "Don't push your luck." With visible effort, she restrained herself, straightening my rumpled clothes. She nibbled my earlobe. "Whatever you say, my Ethan." As the end of the year approached, the palace was a hive of activity, and Serafina was buried in work day and night. I was useless when it came to politics, but I could at least help sort the endless piles of official documents. Anything too complex was beyond me, but I knew a thing or two about agriculture, like crop rotation and pruning techniques to improve yields. Thank you. High school biology. Good to know I didn't forget everything the second I graduated. When I got tired of paperwork, I'd wander the palace gardens, helping the gardeners trim the rose bushes, or sneak into the kitchens to learn from the chefs. One of the cooks taught me how to make these amazing cinnamon rolls. I made a huge batch, kept half for myself, and brought the rest to the workaholic empress. She completely ignored the perfect ones on the plate and snatched the half-eaten one from my hand. I raised an eyebrow. "How is it?" She tilted my chin up. "Why don't you taste for yourself?" I already had. It was very sweet. Things in the palace were quiet for more than a week. I almost let myself believe the storm had passed, but the system told me everything was still on track. Turns out it was right. The New Year's gala came and went without a single hitch. It was only then that I realized Serafina had kept her word. The people under her rule were safe and prosperous. The years of border wars were finally over. A unified empire was always the foundation for progress. In the years since I'd been gone, she'd taken my advice, recruiting talented people from all walks of life. Engineers, artisans, scholars, and pushed for technological advancement. Agriculture, métallurgie, textile. Everything had improved dramatically. Tonight, the capital was ablaze with lights, the streets thronged with people. The Founders' Day Festival was the biggest celebration of the year, with lantern displays and performances stretching for miles. I pulled Serafina to a stop in front of a lantern stall, pointed to an intricate one shaped like a phoenix, paid the man, and handed it to her. "For you." She took it with a satisfied smile, linking her arm through mine as we continued to stroll through the crowd. Maybe because of the improved economy, women had more freedom to participate in public life, and the general atmosphere was more open. If I'd shown up looking like I did on my first day back, I probably wouldn't have been treated so harshly. Everything was moving in the right direction. She bought a couple of candy apples and a bag of funnel cake, and I followed along like a dutiful squire, loaded down with treats, watching her laugh like a child. There was no trace of the formidable empress. Finally, we climbed the city wall, and I leaned against the ramparts, looking up at the full moon. After I graduated, I wanted to take a trip to Rome, see the ancient city, but I got sent here before I could even book the flight. I never made it to that city of ruins, but I ended up in a real ancient world instead. Serafina came up behind me, wrapping her arms around my waist. "Do you miss home?" I said no, but in my heart, I wasn't so sure. The first time I was here, I was terrified, and it took me a long time to accept my fate and go find her. This time was different. I knew that at most, only a few hours would pass in my world. My parents wouldn't be worried. I knew I would eventually go home. It felt like being in a hyper-realistic VR game. And if it was a game, what was the harm in getting lost in it for a little while? I was just confused about how to get out. The system said her condition was stable, but advised me not to leave just yet. Was I supposed to spend the rest of my life here? She would grow old, but I wouldn't. When her life ended, I could go home, and I'd still be a high school graduate about to start college. But I want to play video games, not deal with politics. It's so boring. Serafina pressed closer against my back. Then, don't. I reached up and patted her hands. The printing press was just invented in this era. You can't even find a decent novel to read. And things like horseback riding and archery are too much work. I'd rather do paperwork. The last few years of my previous day, once things had stabilized, I'd forced myself to learn a bunch of skills. Now I could play the lute, ride, shoot a bow, and even do some basic embroidery. My parents would have freaked out if they saw how capable I'd become. This time, I had zero interest in learning anything new. Her chin rested affectionately on my shoulder. You don't have to. I turned to face her, confused. What do you mean? She caressed the side of my face. Ethan, you can go back now, can't you? I was honest. Yeah, I can. Then why are you still here? You want me to stay? Part of it was that I was worried she'd do something crazy. And the other part was, if I left, I'd probably never see her again. Since I was here, I might as well see her story through to the end. Life is short. No regrets. Serafina pressed her cheek against mine and said something strange. You've gotten taller, Ethan, and you've lost weight. I frowned. What's that supposed to mean? So I'd lost a little weight. I've been busy. Is that a problem? Are you already tired of me after just a few weeks? And she hadn't called me her little boy in a while. Damn it. I looked down, but her eyes were lowered, long lashes hiding her expression. Go home. I hadn't seen her this serious in a long time. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? You're going to kick me out just because I lost a few pounds? What kind of person are you? Hasn't the system been quiet for a while? I blinked. She was right. The system never showed up when I was with Serafina, and we'd been together constantly. I hadn't noticed anything was wrong. It's with me now. My mind went blank. The system could do that. It was afraid you'd leave without a word one day, so it detached itself from you completely. Serafina took my hand. You can't leave. My eyes went wide. You've lost weight recently, Ethan. Before, your body never changed, not by an inch. Her meaning slowly dawned on me. I'm going to die here. No, I'll send you back. I gripped her hand. Then what about you? I'll find you. Serafina placed a reverent kiss on my forehead. Ethan, don't you dare forget me. Ethan Clark, wake up. You're going to miss the lecture. I blinked my eyes open. Unfamiliar classroom. Familiar rumba. The AC was blasting. I rubbed my eyes groggy. What class is this? I'd helped a professor with something after lunch, and by the time I was done, class was less than half an hour away. I'd just gone straight to the lecture hall, sent my roommate a text, and crashed on the desk. How can you have a dream that intense from a quick nap? It felt like it had lasted for more than a year, and today it had finally reached its conclusion. The woman in the dream, whose face I couldn't quite see, told me not to forget her. Too late. The details were already fading. I yawned. If someone like that was real and actually came looking for me, I'd be totally screwed. Good thing it was just a dream. My roommate dropped a textbook on my desk. Special topics in ancient dynasties. I was completely lost. Did I sign up for this? Yeah, I made you sign up with me, he said. The professor for this class is not only a legend in her field, she's supposedly gorgeous. It'd be a crime not to take it. I laid my head back down on the desk. Not interested. My roommate knew me too well. He played his trump card. She also fails half the class. You drag me into this? I'm going to kill you. He just grinned. I seethed. I stared at the classroom door, waiting. I had to see this legendary beauty my roommate was willing to risk my GPA for. The bell rang, and a tall, elegant woman walked in. She was wearing a sharp, professional blazer and skirt, and carried herself with an air of refined grace. Her thin-framed glasses gave her an intellectual look. She was beautiful, all right, but there was something familiar about her. She didn't even glance at the students, just walked straight to the whiteboard and started writing. I am your instructor for special topics in ancient dynasties. My name is Serafina Vance. Hearing the name, I couldn't help but lean over to my roommate. Her first name is the same as the Seraphinian dynasty we're studying. What are the odds? You think she's a time traveler? After outlining the syllabus, she started walking through the aisles as we worked on an introductory assignment. I was chewing on the end of my pen, trying to remember some basic dates, when she stopped beside my desk. The faint, familiar scent of moonflowers drifted to me. She leaned over, and a long, slender finger tapped my notebook. A pleasant, melodic voice flowed like water. Mr. Clark, A little more focus. This part is incorrect. How did she know my name? Professor Vance pointed at my notes, her voice a soft murmur. The dating of this artifact is wrong. The historical consensus places it 20 years earlier. I nodded, a strange feeling creeping over me. Something wasn't right.